She should have chosen to sit.
Yeah, you're good.
Okay. Everybody for the comments, glad we made it, or at least those that made it. And get right into the agenda. There's minutes that were included in the packet from February 6th. How did you want to handle do we want the annual meeting minutes? I didn't see those in, oh, that is in our group, isn't it? So we do have the annual meeting minutes first that we want to review and approve. And we'll take these one at a time. Did anybody have any questions or concerns or comments with respect to the annual meeting minutes?
No.
All right, we got a motion to approve those.
Second.
Thank you. Everyone in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. We'll do the same for the Audit and Finance Committee minutes for the same day. Those are in your packet. Any questions or comments? Motion to approve.
I'll make that motion.
Thank you, Dave. Is there a second?
Second.
Cheryl? Thank you. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. So we also have in the packet as a list of bills to be paid. We've had a chance to look through those, scan those. You can see there's a lot of little activity, office operating expenses, insurance, cable or Wi-Fi, electric bills for multiple parcels, all standard. We did have one bill in there for some travel for a conference that Megan went to, and then a deposit that was made for a future conference that Jody's going to be attending for a room deposit.
Correct, yeah.
The rest is pretty standard. So unless you have any questions, I would.
One quick question, the umbrella policy, how much is that? For the bill without the insurance? The umbrella liability?
Yes.
That 5 million?
We increased that, and I think we'd have to double check, but I think it is 5 million.
I think it is, yeah.
That's the only question I have.
And we'll double check. Megan, if you take a look at that, and then just email the group just to confirm.
I just printed that out 2 days ago.
That covers coronavirus or not?
It's not, there's no GL policy that's gonna cover bacteria or kind of transmission, but we doubled our cleaning bills.
Moving on.
So I would look for a motion to approve the bills.
I'll make that motion.
Thank you. Second.
Second.
Thank you, Cheryl.
That's one.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? And then just for reference, we show the deposits that were made. You can see that the rental payments and loan payments, refund of an insurance premium. And we got some administrative fees from the financial, the P&L and the balance sheet. Jody's also prepared what he was going to be reporting, I believe, up to the board, as opposed to reviewing the detail. It's kind of a summary of those statements, which is the first page of senior financial reporting that will be going to the full board to kind of take a look at. And I think it's a nice summary of just kind of showing people generally where we're at. Of course, we always have the detail on file for any questions, but
Yeah, I can email out the details to the finance report meeting if you want, and then just prepare the summary for the meetings. Okay.
so in the commentary for those operating expenses, just and this is just for note, timing is essential in these things. So things like insurance premiums that you can't annualize, those are at various times, as we all know. But if
We
you
pay
look
that
at
in full, correct?
what's that?
Insurance premium, we pay that in full.
Most of them.
Yeah, it's not 100% of insurance coverages, but that was paid in full. You see another later. You'll see the professional services were to date if we annualize what we've spent, and if it's not the right way to do it, but we're a little bit ahead of where we projected. That's controlled project by project, and then just a little bit on advertising and conferences, but everything else is fairly well in line with what our budget had lined up. From an operating perspective, operating expenses and the performance of the the agency so far. We're, if you just compare last year at this time to this year at this time, we're 36,000 ahead of where we were. So a little bit better fiscal management there, and that's proving out thus far. So just a couple of highlights to point out. Anybody have any questions or comments about balance sheet, you know? So, okay. New and unfinished business. George, do you want to address these items?
As everybody's aware, we've been working with, the New York, Regulatory Authority on their grant, as well as Midtown and the Village of Cooperstown on installation of Wi-Fi units in downtown Village of Cooperstown. We checked with our insurance companies and got quotes for what it would cost to insure those units, and it's gonna be $950 a year in increase in our policy. So the big question comes up, who wants to scrap the project?
Position of ownership of the collateral, the equipment to facilitate the transaction. We said net zero cost to us. That was kind of what our discussion was.
Mhm.
Now we find out we have to carry the insurance for the equipment. Why can't there be a pass-through to cover those expenses for us?
Pass through to the village or pass through to Midtown?
Yeah, whoever.
Because right now, nobody wants to pay for it.
So the village would want to pay for it?
Did you find
Sure,
out
they're right.
anything about the interface with Midtel? The one thing I was asking, a couple continue to figure, we
Figure out though,
to
yeah.
figure out the logistics around trying to cover those costs. The other thing I asked Jody about was, with sponsorship or some kind of, who's capturing that information, who's capturing the email, that information. So if we could find out who's managing that, then we could possibly, it doesn't have to be the IDA. IDA could contract with another vendor, Cooperstown Chambers, right in Cooperstown, possibly Chamber could help sell some kind of sponsorship around this. I mean, it could actually turn it into a revenue generator for the IDA and try to more than cover the insurance costs. I'm just saying, I think there's more potential here if we could find out what that interface is and who's setting it up and who's managing it. Because I think just the data of it, people should have to be giving their email address every time they use that interface. Where's that information going? The destination marketing might jump on board for this, or the Cooperstown Chamber. I think either of those would find huge value in that free Wi-Fi and what that, what we could capture and the promotional opportunity.
I think we all get that, we're just trying to figure out what we're spending $950, right?
Well, I think
That's
that's
what we're
one
going
year,
with.
one
Oh,
year
okay.
commitment. Well, these are loose ends that you don't even know about right now.
But we are in a position of just kind of, taking the ownership to facilitate the change. We don't control any of the information flow. We don't control any of
Right,
it.
that's what I was wondering.
Right,
our
so-
involvement.
How do
Who owns the
we,
equipment though?
I was gonna say, so, understanding
Don't
the, right, do we own the
Yeah.
equipment?
Yeah,
So,
we own
and
the
is that,
equipment,
is
the
that
system.
forever, or are we just doing it temporarily while we handle the grant funding?
We own it for the useful life of the equipment. And at that point.
So we own the system.
That's a
We
part
own
of
it,
the,
then we
that's a part of the
own
grant
Yeah.
requirement,
We
right?
gotta pay the.
Now, that's not to say that over the next year or two, we should find ways to pass along potential costs or,
Or look for ways of generating.
Yeah.
revenue for
Like
that.
if Midtel,
my point is you don't control how to generate revenue.
right?
You're not controlling information flow. We only have the hard asset.
right,
It's like there's software underneath the asset that's collected. We don't own that. We're not in
Exactly.
control of that.
the software component you're talking about, that seems like a question we want to get answered too. Because if Midtel is running that portion, then and we own the equipment, why couldn't we ask Midtel to work this out with us?
So then, essentially, in the end, we could pass along these costs to anybody using the equipment. We own the equipment, so now you can look for
Yes.
basically ways or means to say who's benefiting from the equipment and being able to,
Only everybody.
yeah.
I mean, we don't generate income here, as we all know, we're scratching, so So they have understanding, we all agree it's a need everywhere, not only Cooperstown. Butternut comes to us and wants to get this grant, it's just a pile on of what, well, you did it for them, you did it for them, and so you can't, it's,
Yeah.
we did our part, then it's only, seems
Well,
only
if you
fair and
look at-
only.
If you look at the financial benefit for the role we're playing, it's substantial. And then it's, okay, now we want you to pay for the insurance for the equipment that frankly, it's ours, but it's not. What are you gonna do with it? You're gonna go get it, you're gonna pull it down, you're gonna do anything with it? No. It's got one purpose and it's gonna be up there. No, we don't wanna cancel the transaction, but we
No.
wanna talk about how do we just get covered so we don't have additional expenses.
And we don't have any tax jurisdiction here, there's no tax.
Right.
And so,
I mean,
Just-
clearly the liability's on us in terms of we need to
grant
insure the property.
absolutely.
So then it just becomes a matter of how do we potentially cost share with
And we'll just
all
ask
parties.
Jody to
That's it.
look at options for us.
Yeah.
And with,
Seems reasonable, I think.
We're still having finalized the agreements with Midtown.
Put something in there, yeah.
What's the timeline?
say that again out loud, so everyone
Forever.
hears you.
And we're trying to clarify that with their attorneys, why that language can't be changed. So at that point in time, we can certainly talk to them about adding a section in there about paying for through the interface.
I'd be curious to how these other reasons are handled as well, because it just seems, this whole thing seems odd, and forgive my ignorance to how it was all set up, right? But like, generally, there's a lease agreement with such equipment, two parties are actually utilizing it, whether it be a municipality or a business or something like that. So it seems odd that we are owning it with no real lease agreement that would allow us to recoup some of the costs that might go into that. So just, the whole arrangement feels a little odd to me, but I don't know how this looks elsewhere. So do we have a model that this has been based on that we could leverage?
The contract, the initial contract that we drafted with Midtown was based on a contract that was very similar in a different community. So that's the model. There aren't a lot of these out there that were done between municipalities, providers, and industrial development agencies.
Okay.
So that's.
I mean, again, I don't disagree with $1,000 a year, a year, yeah.
Can we, and so you'll find out from Midtel who actually is doing that interface piece of it?
I'll talk to Jim Becker today.
It'd be interesting if they could provide a very visual, like a diagram of kind of the
Yeah.
layers, right?
Yeah, because
Pictures are good.
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of the push for this project goes back to partially the Hall of Fame and the need for, a better wireless infrastructure, especially during induction weekend. So, but I don't, it doesn't sound like they're in the loop, so, it's like, it sounds like this all goes back to Midtel, so they should be able to answer all these questions.
Absolutely.
So.
Replacement of the soccer concession stand, is actually $12,300. It's a typo that you actually pointed out to me. We're recommending going with Alpine Roofing. It is the least expensive metal roofing and actually the least expensive roofing of all of them, except for one proposal, which was to take off the first 6 feet and replace that shingles and the rest of the roof. They give a 4-year guarantee, which in 4 years, none of us will be around to talk about. Oh, some of you still might.
Please.
40, he said, he got 40, did he say 40 or 40?
40.
4.
Yeah. Well, Megan still may be the executive.
Yeah, I know.
So this will be your problem.
Did you get 3 bids?
Yeah.
Did you get 3 comparable bids exactly?
Several. We got
Yeah.
6 actually.
So, yeah, that's all that matters.
And included, just doing all asphalt.
Yeah.
So we
Apple bids, that's
recommend going before the full board with this, at the next board meeting.
Are you comfortable with that, because you were?
Yeah, the issue with metal is, on any kind of filling,
Which was about half the cost, $32,800. We did an analysis between the two, and basically MRB is more looking at a conceptual layout based on all of the environmental issues, including wetlands, keeping rail access, an area for that, and then actually dividing up the lots into the maximum use of building coverage. Schumacher, which originally I was the one I was hoping generated data, so they weren't actually going to look at the sites, they were staying in their office. In fact, all meetings with Schumacher was going to be held doing the analysis, coming to our offices to meet with us, and half the price. So,
I can physically,
I think there was one that said, they had one. I don't know. So you can take that to the full board.
So the recommendation will take it to the full board. We did receive a pilot application from Skyline Hospitality. They're the potential owners of the hotel that's being proposed at Hampton Inn in Hardwick. It's about a $15 million construction project. They had sent to Joe Scott yesterday a letter outlining the need for the benefits, and while it's working, that he concurs with most of the analysis that it is necessary and appropriate, and answering the issues that we raised.
Retail, not owner occupied, et cetera.
At this time, we'd like to accept the application. It is a completed application. What they're looking at as far as tax benefits are only the benefits that are in our bylaw, not in our bylaws, in our policy, our uniform tax exempt policy, which basically say that we treat hotels as retail, and that the maximum, which is much reduced than what our normal tax policy. So we're requesting the 45B in their application, and obviously for change the pilot. And we're looking to, if they can close on this, or get us to close on it, they would be looking for the mortgage recording tax. Sales tax exemptions. So those sales tax exemptions would be a one-time hit, where the 45B would be over a 10-year period. Basically, the 45B treats the property as 50% of it immediately is taxable, and then over a 10-year period it goes up to 100%, which is different than our standard policy, which is.
Yeah, the real money in that is the sales tax and mortgage tax.
But I mean, I think I asked you this before, they're still gonna have to collect county bed tax, that's not an exemption.
That's yeah, that's still collected by any what they consider ad valorem taxes, fire districts, lighting districts, anything like that. They still receive full taxes, and they pay the.
You keep 100% of that, right?
The bed tax, yeah, the county.
The county does.
Yeah, the full bed tax, yeah. And then,
How much do we keep with the sales tax?
that's a good question.
Not much.
I mean, it's the one area of.
About 32 million, if you roll between 30 and 40 million. So it's about 3%.
3%.
3 of you.
388, we keep, 5 goes.
So if everybody's in agreement, we'll bring this to the board next 2 weeks, just for starting the process, not actually, we still have to hold public hearings. We have to do a cost benefit analysis on that. And we still want to see Joe's response to those issues.
And it would just, that sales tax exemption piece of it, they could, there are options for, how long is that exemption again for the sales tax?
To the end of the project, so probably 18 months.
18
Normally, we do it at 12 months, but you can go up to 18 months.
So after 18 months, then they would be paying sales tax again.
So, and
It's just the project itself, it's not
Right.
the ongoing.
The actual
Yes.
operation,
Correct.
right?
yeah, and my comments were that just make sure we're getting legal counsel full time based on both our history and by definition, by law, and on those issues. So that was my recommendation.
We just want to clear, I mean, I don't think we have to be proactive in making that.
The retreat, one of the issues is financials, and certainly help. It's not just the initial upfront cost, which is significant, but we're trying to build up a larger.
And it's going to provide significant bed tax revenue.
I did let both the IGA committee and the administrative committee know that we requesting probably double the amount next year. And nobody said we're crazy, so that was really positive. But they had quite a few positive. Volunteer cleanup that we're doing on the Oneonta Rail Yards for Saturday and Sunday in late April. We did go out and get quotes for insurance for those volunteers. It's gonna be about $300 for those 2 days. And we're going ahead with that, just because we don't want anybody hurt.
You have to.
The 2020 audit is underway.
You mean 19,
Yeah,
the 19 of it.
yes,
Okay.
Manzanero?
yes.
It's Manzanero.
Yes.
Yeah, it's no.
Another JSJJ, which is Aqua.
Aqua Valley Springs, yeah, Water Bottle LLC.
They have a loan with us. They approached us to, they're refinancing or getting additional financing for new equipment with the bank. The bank wanted us to subordinate our loan. We made a talk to them about why don't they just pay it off, and they're gonna pay off on them. So that's positive.
Do we know where their bottling plant is?
When I send the invoice, he's in Watertown. JSJJ is in Watertown. And it, yeah, 315 area.
Office space, we're continuing to explore, having a tenant move in with us. Right now, we're pushing the city of Oneonta to move the community development department in here. And the mayor contacted me yesterday and said that we'll have that discussion and be back on wherever he is out of town next Friday. But the positive thing is we've been talking to him now for a month and he hasn't said no, not interested. He actually is interested in moving over to Judy Patton's office because they say they're out of space. They just don't have space. And that would actually be a nice fit with their office.
And I'm not saying you are, I just think it needs to be clear, that's all.
No, and in fact, we did have our legal aid society come up and look at it, and we just, both they and us agreed that they just wouldn't fit up here, and we're not just here to fill a space. So.
It has to align.
Yeah, it has to align.
The missions.
I mean, it makes sense that we have Cave here, that we have.
Sure.
Here East. So that's all I have to find out.
Any other business? Anyone else? A motion to adjourn?
No move. Second?
Thank you, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Nay. Okay. Project.
So moving the projects, just to kind of open this up and maybe go a little bit on really just identifying what our priority focuses are for 2020 and putting together some second charters to start to get some clarity around that. So,
If you go to the,
so if you want to go, hold on, you want to wait, go through the committee meeting minutes? I think it's all that, so. Questions or concerns anyone would like to raise? If not, can I get a motion?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
what's interesting is, I asked Megan to also do 7 priority projects. Separately than what I had done. And amazingly, they all come out on the same day. That was kind of interesting to see that we had the same perspective. The first one was the Oneonta Rail Yards. We still want to continue on that. If you'll notice that we've really changed the whole format of this. It's really now into the redevelopment of it as opposed to the environmental and the GIS. The second project, obviously, that we're still working on, is Litchfield Springs, which we call the Eco Business Park. And again, it's really looking at the activities to actually get under construction this year. Or ultimately by the spring of next year, depending on what the EDA financing will be. third project, that's in your sheet right now that is going to be moving down to the bottom of the list is custom electronics. That project we expect will be completed within the next 6 months. However, we are in discussions with them on the next phase of expansion. Obviously, when they're at 30, they've added 35 people, so there's 75 people, so they're at now 110. When they add another 15 people, they're really at maximum space in that facility. So we've been having dialogues with them on the potential of building a new building in the rail yards, or the possibility, should something unforeseen happen with that access, that they could move into that building as well.
They have, not enough space on their current lot to do an expansion there, correct?
Right.
So the space they're looking for is production space, manufacturing.
Yes, right. Yes. The next project that would be one of our priority projects for this year is the Castle Packing LLC. One of the things we'll note on this is that we're going to change the way the budget is done. Right now, the way in the past things we tracked was we only tracked our funds. So that $200,000 that's in the budget is actually the ESD grant that came to us. It doesn't reflect, the total project cost is $1.2 million. So we're going to change the way this budget is to actually give you a more detailed budget on how it's all financed, both with NPT Bank potentially,
Mohawk Valley.
Mohawk Valley Economic Development District is putting up $200,000. How much money the company's putting up. And then actually, I hate to bring this up to you, but the Broome County Industrial Development Agency said that they may be interested in putting in money into this project.
Blending into?
Yes, because they can do manufacturing in our county. So,
And so as I was talking to Jody about this, just being really clear in the budget and funding this maybe too high level and simple, to understand really what's our investment and where we're capturing and what we're versus where everything else is for the project, so.
and to make it more complicated, I also mentioned to Cheryl that part of this project, we recoup $180,000 that we're selling our property at the Oleana Business Park, so we'll be making money off this project. And so now we have to reflect that in this sheet. The next one, and I promised Megan would take her picture off here. I wanted her to be the voice of the agency in a sense, the visibility of Otsego now. That is another priority project that came, I think, out of the retreat that we had, that we want to be more visible both with municipalities, with our businesses, and with the state university and colleges, that we want to be able to explain to people what we're doing. So you're going to have an activity log of what we're going on, broken down a little bit differently. Where I talked to Cheryl has some good ideas about how to amend this to make it more readable. But again, it'll give you an idea of how we're doing our outreach in a sense. The next project overview is developing self-sustainability, and we'll again be amending this to be more readable and easier to read. But you'll see things on rental space, county appropriations, pilot agreements. And there's one on here that on the last page that I'll talk to the mayor, and you can read it for yourself. But some of the city councilmen have recommended that basically that they would consider putting money into our organization. They give other monies to other organizations such as
Destination.
and they
Personal donations?
no,
No,
city-
no,
city-
line item.
a line item.
Gotcha.
They do like 7,000
Go ahead.
And that would be devoted to the Oleana Rail Yards development and other IDA projects that we have specifically in the city. So that's what they're requesting. We're gonna try to come to an equal understanding of how that may be more flexible. But it's positive that the city, in addition to the county, want to contribute money to our agency. So that, kind of in a nutshell, is the projects, charters.
What was you mean with NCOT? Right,
What did you reach out to me for?
It's on the phone long.
Oh, you just said you sent an email to me requesting a meeting and no response.
Yeah, I sent, there was two, one was to, Unilam and one was to
Multimatic.
Multimatic. And I sent out emails to each of the presidents saying, this is what we do, we help similar companies, and I'd like to sit down and try to introduce myself and what we may be able to help you in the future. We have a CFA round coming up. And I haven't received any response from them.
And that's where, again, what I was talking to Jody about was really, we look at project milestones, like when we're looking at outreach, do we have a pointed focused approach to the outreach? First, we're educating on what we can offer, identifying opportunities, and then potentially pursuing opportunities. So that really the idea is, while the outreach should be happening all the time, for the purpose of this project, are there certain companies or organizations or businesses that we're targeting that perhaps haven't had interaction and that we're trying to grow that awareness of?
Do you have an update on the, solar/wind farm
No,
inquiry? Okay.
no, and in fact, that's one of the problems with Empire State Development, is they solicit requests. We don't even know if they've actually found a site near the state. So I'll follow up with the person who requested that and say what's going on. Because that would be a good site.
This year, assuming the capacity's there, right, assuming we can put this forth, this capacity exists to be able to do that.
Other projects that, I mean, the day-to-day and other projects that come up, we wouldn't formalize those, I guess, is that the general approach?
Yeah, I mean, again, the day-to-day stuff that pops up would just be, hopefully it's already consumed in your capacity and taken away from what you're taking on for additional focus projects. If something new were to come up that we were looking to take on, we'd have to sit down and understand, can we take that on with this on plate? If we can't, then what comes off it, like if we wanna do that instead. So it's really having the conversation around, do we take it on or not? And if we do, does something else have to come off? It's not to say we wouldn't do them, it would just be conversation.
Right, a good example is the Cooperstown distillery, that came up, it was easily imaginable. Right, we still.
It's not here now.
Priority
And
project.
Midtell's not here, cause that's almost complete, like, these are projects that are
I don't
kind
know.
of on the way out, right?
Yeah.
The only one that I mentioned to Jody is, and I'm not saying it should go back in here, but, McFarland made a presentation, the engineering firm made the presentation to the county board on their work and, looking at all potential distribution center sites in the county, and they focused on 2 sites, and they're both, one is a county owned in Skenevis, the other one is the original Skenevis site. And so they basically said to the county, the one on Smoky Hollow is the most viable for a distribution center. They've already mocked up drawings, and now
Which one is that?
that's the original one that the IDA was.
Not county owned.
It's not county owned. Yeah, the county owned property is kind of some kind of forest, quasi forest
So that's
land.
to be clear and stuff like that.
Yeah, they did all the road kind of access and everything, and they cited a building in it and parking and everything, and they just said that it has potential, but all the utility pieces are more the challenge, whereas this other property on Smoky Hollow has a lot more opportunity. So the county-owned one has, I think the one thing the county learned is that we own a property that has some viability for something, even maybe solar, because of the grade on it. But McFarland is focusing on the one in Smoky Hollow for actually doing more detailed mapping of the wetlands, soil core samples. I mean, they're moving forward with all the full.
So we have,
I don't think so.
I know we have the map of the wetlands,
Yeah,
and I'm pretty sure we did the core sample when
yeah. I don't know.
do you remember that? Because that's why we walked away from it, because of the wetlands being essentially, you have like 1 acre of usable
We
land.
walked away what we were told. We walked away because of what we were told.
Well, but then because that came.
No, you're
from-
right, 100%, but.
I think the McFarland Johnson report is suggesting that it be, the maximum size is like a.
Yeah, it's smaller.
500,000 square foot building.
600,000, I think, square feet or,
That was a million square feet.
Yeah.
yes, it's not a million square feet, that's, yeah.
But I'm thinking like, no sense that why is somebody paying for it all over again?
Because,
We have-
well, first of all, I don't think there was never a formalized report that was shared with the county. It was only for that one site, and this study was looking at all potential distribution
No, I
center
get it, but in
sites.
terms of the next steps, right? If they're targeting in on this site, what I'm saying, and I don't know if it's to the level they need, but we already did a study on that site. So they might as well somehow get them that study, so they at least have that to determine what they do and do not need to do moving forward at this point.
Take our information that we have and.
Yeah, I mean, it's like, we paid for
Look at it, here you go,
that,
look
yeah.
at it, that's all.
I don't
I'm
know
just saying,
what you have
we're not.
Yeah.
Whatever.
on hand.
Where would that report be?
I don't know if there was actually a report done.
I don't think there
know
was.
When Delaware Engineering came to us, they said they originally had a draft contract with us to do that study, and they agreed that it was a waste of money.
I don't think you ever, I joined the board at that
So I
point in
don't think
time,
there's ever a formal
and
study.
there was
Could be,
never.
but I think it might be worth looking to see how they even landed there. Because again, I know that there was a study on the wetlands.
Right.
So, no, I get it, but I'm just like, it's the work's already been done, if they wanna waste their money, waste their money.
I mean,
In time.
Just to
Yeah.
clarify, it's not a waste of money, because if McFarland thought those wetlands were an issue, they wouldn't be recommending the site. So I think the detail of this work is far more than what the IDA
We don't
did.
know, but my point is,
I
get what you're
think- I
saying, but
think-
if we have
I think
something,
it is, I
but you
think
don't
from what
know, so what we have,
My-
take what we have and give it to them, that's all I'm
question
saying.
well, you maybe qualify your language, you did say it's a waste of
Delaware
money,
Engineering,
because you can't say that.
did the wetland survey, you think? Is that what I'm hearing?
They produced a map that shows where the wetlands are.
Yeah.
And a slope map.
Yeah, and they did did
Which-
some soil sampling, because it determined that you couldn't put a new wetland on that site because of the soil sampling.
Yes, that's true.
Meaning you couldn't mitigate.
Mitigate, couldn't mitigate on that site,
Mitigate
you had to
new
do it
wetlands on
somewhere
that site, you
else.
had to do it somewhere else, yeah.
Generally, can you educate me on something? They're doing this study for, distribution centers, the best. It's one way to look at it, say, hey, what's the best site if a distribution center located here, what's the best site? What is the impetus for thinking a distribution center is gonna go there, first of all, to make you wanna look at the sites?
I mean, there's a, a general, I guess, perception. I mean, part of it is, I guess, coming from Jody going out to see this when Empire State Development had an inquiry about a distribution center site, and that they're, like some of the companies that, I guess from McFarland's and Johnson's perspective, I mean, there's a mid-level market need for smaller, mid-sized distribution centers. How this would get shopped, I mean, I'm only bringing it up because I think there would be, if this moves forward, and I think there's a driving, I think the town, is probably they're the ones really wanting to drive this forward. And I don't think they are, really actively looking at these things. I think they'd be looking to the IDA for help with possible grants, and possibly trying to see.
We're doing that every day here, because we have, I don't know how many acres we have.
Yeah,
Right, but it's not shovel ready. I think that it goes back to that whole, they're pushing this forward with this idea of trying to make it shovel ready.
Yeah, and just from a project standpoint though, we've been down this
Yeah,
road, we walked away
nothing
from
on the
this
table
because we
discuss.
can't afford to make it shovel ready, in terms of where we put our resources and energy, so it's just
There's three,
interesting conversation.
Jim Kevlin came to see me after the county board meeting and said, so what's your reaction to this?
Mhm.
My reaction to him was, I'm not gonna have a reaction to it until I see the detailed analysis that Department Johnson is doing on this. I said, because right now there were three concerns that we have. One is the purchase price is ridiculous. And we're not gonna buy twice as much property, of which 50%.
Right, can't use.
Right.
Half of that site is used.
Right.
The second issue, when we went with that site.
How do we know
selection- The second issue, when we went with the site selection company, there's two other major drawbacks. One is that for a distribution company, you need natural gas. They will not go anywhere on the distribution center unless they have an entry. So if you're not looking for a distribution center, that site may work for some other type of client, but for distribution, it won't work. The other issue is that there's no way to put in the septic system. There's no river to discharge it to, there's no creek to discharge sludge to, so you have to solve that issue on how to remove solid waste from that site. And
What Delaware put together, but I never saw the level of detail, like McFarland's actually mapped it out, and then that's part of
Delaware
the
did too.
overall analysis they're doing on the.
So the county has retained them to do this.
The project, again, the project wasn't focused on that site. It was, I mean, they took, like, Jody was there in the beginning, I mean, they took 50, 60 sites all across Otsego County, and they cast a very wide net.
IDA.
Oh, right, I'm sorry, yeah, the IEDA corridor, yeah.
So the bottom line is if they're gonna do this,
Well, really.
Well, no, it's part of the project.
For
That
us
was
to
now.
discuss here.
Yeah.
exactly.
There's nothing to come
No,
before
it's-
us,
it's-
there's nothing that.
And-
But I think that's the bigger discussion.
We're gonna
Excuse
come
me,
back
sir.
to the IEDA.
I think it's, this
Discuss
is what this organization is meant to be doing.
Just be on our radar.
Yeah, that they're deciding to do on their own, which is unfortunate in that respect. Other than that, go have at it.
the only other project that is not on here that people, this board may say, why isn't it on there, is Springbrook's project across the street. The reason that is not what we're considering a priority project is right now our involvement is solely to a pilot agreement with them. And it's not, I'm sure if they go ahead with that project, we will not have anything to do with construction. They've already put together a finding.
In excess of $3 million.
Well, the word on the street is somewhat wrong. We gave them-
Perfect, that's all I need to know.
We gave them some,
Just telling you.
we gave them some technical assistance of what the formula was for ESD.
That's okay. I'm just telling you what people are, what happens in a small area on
We didn't.
these organizations, unfortunately.
We
So
didn't do any groundwork.
as an organization, we need to clarify that. There you go.
And we referred Mike Nichols to help them with that, so they could have hired him or not hired him, that was the extent of our
Right.
involvement.
Okay.
So in fairness of time, because I know some people have to leave, I think I'm pretty much done with, unless you've got questions.
No, again, I'm gonna look at the committee in terms of the scheme of site has now been brought up. Again, are we comfortable with the 7 projects that have been proposed? Are we looking to, because essentially I'd like you to take this to the board just to make sure that the board is completely comfortable with that as well. So anything anyone propose differently, so scheme of site being on potentially our side radar should something develop.
Also on the side, I did meet with the chairman and the vice chairman of our board. We are reviewing the bylaws. We're going to be making recommendations, changes to be more in line with what the state currently recommends for bylaws for IDAs. So there'll be some minor changes. Also, in reviewing of the bylaws, we also realize that we don't have to meet all of our committees every month. So we may try to go to one meeting a month, just with board meetings, and have committee meetings done by email, or just, this is what we're working on. And we'll see you at the board meeting and have a more detailed discussion on that. But, for example, finance, I think there's a requirement that finance committee meetings have to be held twice a year by the state, not every month. So we may change the way we structure some of our meetings.
I just personally, I think we've talked about this before, I personally would rather have more smaller meetings than one larger meeting, but that's just me personally. So I think we talked about that last year, 2 years ago, same thing, right? So if we're gonna turn all these and get everything done in a board meeting, that's gonna go now 3 hours.
So,
Yeah, okay.
we're still gonna have,
Because I feel like our project committee meetings, generally, as we get into them, could spiral in terms of the conversations we have. So either we have to be really pointed and direct during our conversations to be efficient, or I wouldn't necessarily completely lose.
I tend to think that we can't have a vacuum here in certain things. I know that everybody likes to run through the president, but the person in projects, head of projects should be meeting with Jody.
Which I can
Right.
definitely do that more frequently.
The project chairman, if there's issues on project, it doesn't go always just to the president, it goes to the project chairman.
Yeah.
That's where the lead comes through. If there's need for and so because when you start living in the vacuum and you come to meetings, you don't hear things, for
Right.
whatever reason,
Yeah.
it doesn't bode well as communication. That's just my personal opinion, so, because
Yeah, I
there's certain
think
things that I
one
hear
thing-
that I don't hear because I'm out and about, but that's important, I can't make decisions here, so we're trying to move quickly, I get it, and I want to do as quickly as everybody else, but we have chairmen of certain committees for certain reasons, and we should keep it that way, with the communication coming through, like Jeff does, through them, not necessarily just from the top down, because it gets muddy. Wrong? Because I don't think you've had that, the projects in the past, it's not been doing that way, it hasn't been going that way, and I think you're leading terrifically in respect of what we're organizing here.
Yeah, and
Right.
I can definitely meet with Jody more frequently or.
And that might help you in that-
with the two
in
of
that
us,
meeting.
And then be prepared for it, yeah.
I can come as fast as you did. I can see-
Have you?
I think what we're trying to do is get a formal structure
Yeah.
for a formal meeting.
Yeah.
For recordation, the strategic discussions we have around that and how we do that through the board is yet, that's the
Yeah.
detail.
That's the detail, yes.
Right. I mean, I think having the committee chair meet with Jody and not have the committee involved is pointless it's pointless to have a committee then. So I'm just saying,
I don't think it's saying that.
I'm not saying- I understand,
I think it's more of like
but if
developing the
if the
agenda.
committee
Yeah.
chair is meeting with Jody to
Right.
avoid having a committee meeting, I'm not in favor of that at all.
No.
No, that's not at all what I said.
That's not what I'm saying.
For the first time, I sat down with Jeff on Friday and we went through.
A week or two ahead, we're just going
Right,
through
right,
the
no,
And if there are
agenda.
certain questions on the projects,
Identify priorities.
the lead goes through the committee, to the committee chair, so the committee chair can communicate with the people on that
Right.
committee, rather than having, through Jeff, that goes through Dave, who's what doesn't mean anything, or me, or Tom, or whoever. So there's some, you don't need to call Jeff, and you call her, and it just seems like, and at the project committee, you're right.
I'd like to do that with projects like the finance, Cheryl will go through the potential agenda for the next meeting and iron what we want on the agenda, and then we'll have a meeting.
All right, is there anything else, any other new business, anything like that? Okay, not, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Great.
What's the word in the